Welcome back to Real Reddit Moments, where we explore dramatic real-life stories, unbelievable twists, and am I a bad guy? Moments that have the community in a tizzy. Today, we dive into an unlikely confrontation, a battle between honesty and greed that ends in unexpected tears. Did our protagonist go too far in not holding back against a would-be scammer, or was it just the right result for wrongdoing? The story is titled AITA for making a woman cry after she tried to scam me for a refund. Find out whose side you're on in this surprising situation. Our story comes from Reddit user uScamSurvivor. We'll call him OP, a 25-year-old guy who was trying to get a refund for a pretty big piece of tech. OP had just purchased an expensive electronic device, but unfortunately, it was faulty right out of the box. He contacted the store to get a refund, and the process was not easy. After many exchanges, waiting and following all the procedures, he finally received an email confirming that the refund had been processed and would be transferred to his account via a local money transfer service. OP breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally all settled. He received a transaction confirmation code and was asked to go to a specific location to pick up the cash. When OP arrived at the pickup location, he gave the confirmation code to the employee. After a few minutes of checking, the staff said that the money had been withdrawn by another woman just a few minutes earlier. OP was shocked. He had no idea who this woman was and how she had obtained his transaction confirmation code. It was clearly an elaborate scam. At that moment, OP saw a woman leaving the counter with a wad of cash in her hand. His intuition told him that this was the person who had scammed him. OP immediately stopped her, confronted her, and demanded that she return the money. The woman, whom we will call the scammer, initially denied everything. She feigned ignorance, acted innocent, and even got angry when OP questioned her. She started yelling, saying that OP was slandering and harassing her, and threatened to call the police. But OP did not back down. He called out to the teller, asking them to confirm the information in front of the scammer. The teller quickly confirmed that she was the one who withdrew the money using OP's transaction code and that they had cameras recording it. When she was cornered and knew she could no longer deny it, the scammer suddenly changed her attitude. From anger, she started to cry. She broke down, begging, saying that she was in trouble, needed money urgently, and this was her only mistake. She begged OP to let her go, because otherwise she would be in big trouble. OP looked at the crying woman. He admitted he felt a little confused, but immediately remembered all the trouble she had caused him and her blatant intention to scam him. He stood his ground, demanding that she return the money immediately, or he would call the police and provide them with the camera evidence. Finally, under pressure, the scamster returned all the money. OP got his money back, but the question still lingered in his mind. AITA for making her cry? Was I too cruel to not go easy on her, even though she seemed pitiful? Torn between feeling right and confusion, OP turned to the Reddit community to ask AITA. OP's story exploded on Reddit, not only attracting tens of thousands of comments, but also causing a strong wave of support and satisfaction for the community. Most people agreed with a single verdict. Without a doubt, the Reddit community chanted, NTA, NTA, TA. Most people praised OP for standing up for justice and not letting the scammer get away with it. Top comment, NTA, 1,000 times NTA, those are crocodile tears. She's not crying because she's sorry, she's crying because she was caught and couldn't get away. You don't owe the scammer any sympathy. You did the right thing and took back what was yours. This comment has received tens of thousands of upvotes and countless Reddit awards. She intentionally scammed you. She didn't accidentally take your money. Her crying was just a last resort to manipulate you. Never trust the tears of a scammer who gets caught. You didn't make her cry. She brought the consequences of her actions on herself. You simply asked for your money back. If she didn't want to cry, she wouldn't have tried to scam others. Well, her difficulty was not being able to scam you. NTA. Enjoy this victory. In addition to judgment, the Reddit community also delved into other aspects, providing practical advice and emotional perspectives. Reassessing trust. Many reminded the OP and the audience about the importance of keeping personal information private and being cautious with unfamiliar transactions. Scam tactics. The community shares similar stories of scammers and how they use emotional manipulation to avoid responsibility. When to go easy on someone. There is some debate about whether there are times when we should go easy on someone, but most agree that in the case of intentional fraud, we should not. Security system. Many people praised the camera system and staff who assisted OP in getting his money back. After receiving overwhelming support from the community, OP is completely confident in his decision. He has given some updates on his feelings and thoughts. Update summary: no regrets. OP asserts that he has no regrets about making the scammer cry. He realized that it was just a show to avoid consequences. Expensive lesson. He learned an important lesson about being cautious in transactions and not trusting people's appearances. Feeling satisfied. OP feels satisfied that he protected his assets and did not let the bad guys take advantage of him. OP now feels very relieved that he got his money back and is no longer haunted by that story. He is proud that he stood up for himself and did not let himself be taken advantage of. He hopes that his story will serve as a warning to others. OP's story is a clear example of how we should deal with scammers and the importance of protecting ourselves in a world full of scams. Anger and surprise, the feeling of being scammed, of having one's property blatantly violated. Confusion and doubt, the feeling of being confronted with the scammer's fake tears, making OP wonder if she was being too tough. Satisfaction and righteousness. Finally, the feeling of satisfaction that justice was served and the bad guy paid. The Reddit community, in this case, acted as an uncompromising judge of wrongdoing. They helped OP remove any guilt and affirmed that protecting property and fighting scammers was completely justified. This shows the power of community solidarity in fighting against evil. OP represents an honest person who was initially passive, but later became strong and determined to protect his rights. He is a role model in fighting against fraud. The fraudster, a typical villain character showing greed, deceit, and the ability to manipulate emotions, but was eventually exposed and had to face the consequences. Lessons learned. Be vigilant. Always be on high alert in all financial transactions, especially when receiving money from unfamiliar sources. Don't let emotions blind your mind. The tears or pitiful stories of a scammer are often just a trick to manipulate. Look at their actions. Protect your rights. If you are a victim of a scam, don't hesitate to stand up and demand justice and your property. Remember, by evidence, security cameras or evidence of transactions are extremely important in exposing scammers. Justice is important. No matter how difficult or dramatic, ensuring justice is served is necessary for society. OP's story is a living proof that sometimes standing up for yourself is not only a right, but also a responsibility, especially when facing those who want to take advantage of you. We hope this story will be a warning and a valuable lesson for all of you in your daily life. What do you think about this story? How would you handle it if you were in OP's situation? Have you ever encountered a similar situation? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below. Thank you for following Real Reddit Moments. See you in the next story. The story is titled AITA for telling her pregnant sister-in-law that she looks like she swallowed a basketball. Is OP a likable, straight-laced person, a tactless jerk, or simply a victim of misunderstanding? Find out and let us know what you think. This story comes from Reddit user Honest Mistake. OP, we'll call her OP, a 30-year-old woman, and the sister-in-law of the main character in the story, the pregnant sister-in-law. OP has a pretty close relationship with her husband's family, especially with her husband's brother and his wife. The sister-in-law, whom we'll call Silao, sister-in-law, Sarah, 32. Sarah is 8 months pregnant, and of course, her belly is huge. OP always treated Sarah like a real sister, and their relationship was very comfortable. They often teased each other and had frank conversations. The whole family was looking forward to the baby's arrival. Conversations about pregnancy, the size of the belly, and the feelings of pregnancy were familiar topics at family gatherings. People often commented on Sarah's changes, and she often talked about the difficulty of her growing belly. One evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Sarah walked into the living room, and as usual, all eyes were on her pregnant belly. Sarah's belly was really big at 8 months, making it difficult for her to move around. Someone in the family joked, "Oh, Sarah, you're carrying a big baby. It must be almost 4 kg." OP, with her straightforward and sometimes innocent personality, didn't think much. She simply tried to visualize the most intuitive way to describe Sarah's big belly. She looked at Sarah, then at her round belly, and in OP's mind an image appeared. Then OP blurted out, "Oh, Sarah, you look like you swallowed a basketball." OP thought it was just a funny comment, a rather humorous way to describe the rapid growth of her pregnant belly. She even laughed lightly after saying that, waiting for Sarah to laugh along or tease her back. However, Sarah's reaction was completely different from OP's expectations. Immediately, the smile on Sarah's lips disappeared. Her face changed from surprise to anger, and then tears started rolling down her cheeks. Sarah ran into the bathroom sobbing. The whole room suddenly fell silent. Everyone stared at OP with reproachful eyes. OP's brother-in-law, Sarah's husband, immediately stood up and followed to comfort his wife. OP's parents-in-law, Sarah's parents, turned to look at OP with angry, disappointed faces. They began to reprimand OP for saying such rude, inconsiderate, and thoughtless words, especially to a sensitive, pregnant woman. OP was extremely confused. She didn't mean any harm. She just thought it was a harmless, even humorous comment. She was shocked by Sarah's fierce reaction and the anger of her family. OP tried to explain that she didn't mean to be offensive. It was just a metaphor to express surprise about the size of her belly, but no one listened. People saw OP as insensitive, and hurtful to a pregnant woman. OP felt isolated and completely misunderstood. She didn't know if she was really as bad as everyone thought. Confused and questioning, OP turned to the Reddit community to ask, AITA? OP's post exploded on Reddit, garnering tens of thousands of comments and a heated debate. The thread touched a sensitive nerve for many. sparking a discussion about boundaries, pregnancy sensitivity, and the meaning of straight talk. A significant portion of the Reddit community has sided with OP, arguing that she's not a bad person. They often insist that OP didn't mean anything bad, that people are being overly sensitive, or that it was just a harmless joke. NTA. You didn't mean anything bad. Everyone knows that your belly is big, so it's not a big deal. Your sister-in-law is probably overly sensitive or has other internal issues. It's a bit much for the whole family to jump in and criticize you. I understand that words can be hurtful, but it's a pretty common expression. A big belly is just a big one. Maybe Sarah is having body image issues while pregnant. NTA. I'm pregnant too, and I would laugh if someone said I swallowed a basketball. It's so visceral. People are overreacting. A large number of comments are taking a neutral stance, stating that both sides are partly at fault, or that this is a nobody is a bad person situation, but just a big misunderstanding due to differences in personality and context. You, OP, are AITA for saying something insensitive and hurtful, even though you didn't mean to. Sarah is AITA in part for reacting so strongly without giving you a chance to explain. The family is also AITA for immediately blaming you without listening. There needs to be understanding from both sides. This is a very unfortunate situation of miscommunication. OP didn't mean anything bad, but her words hit a sensitive spot for a pregnant woman. Sarah has every right to feel hurt. No one meant to hurt anyone, just misunderstood and insensitive. I think this is a lesson in telling the truth, not always telling the truth. Your intentions may be good, but the impact of your words is what matters most. Especially with a pregnant woman, you have to be really careful. This is one of those cases where the YTA side is also very strong and eloquent. They think OP is a total jerk for being so incredibly insensitive, especially to a pregnant woman. YTA. Totally YTA. You don't have to mean anything bad for your words to be hurtful. Do you know how sensitive pregnant women are? Hormones change, bodies change, and they've been through a lot. Your words were completely unnecessary and cruel. YTA rule number 1 when communicating with pregnant women. Never comment on the size of their belly unless you are their doctor or they ask you. And even then, be extremely careful. You are breaking an important, unwritten rule. You meant no harm. What do you mean by that? Making a pregnant woman feel worse about her changing body? YTA. Just because you are straightforward doesn't give you the right to be rude. That's not being blunt. That's being uneducated and having no EQ. YTA. In this case, there were a number of top comments from both the NTA and YTA camps, but one comment from the YTA camp really went viral because it touched a nerve and taught a profound lesson. YTA. Very YTA. Even though you say you didn't mean any harm, your words caused real hurt to Sarah. Pregnant women go through a lot of physical and emotional changes. They are vulnerable to body image issues. Your comparing her belly to a basketball was seriously insensitive, no matter how funny you thought it was. Your intentions don't erase the impact of your words. You need to learn to think before you speak, especially with people who are in a sensitive phase. What you need to do is apologize sincerely, not defend yourself. This comment received tens of thousands of upvotes and many awards, representing a strong YTA stance. The Reddit community not only made a judgment, but also actively engaged and expanded this thread into many deeper discussions, providing advice and sharing personal experiences. No commenting on women's bodies rule. Many people emphasized the general rule of not commenting on other people's bodies, especially women's, unless it's a positive compliment and is requested. This is especially true for pregnant women, who may experience intense body image pressure, hormones, and pregnancy sensitivity. Many users shared personal experiences of how pregnancy made them more sensitive and how seemingly harmless words can be deeply hurtful. Being direct and inconsiderate. A big debate has broken out about the line between being direct and being inconsiderate or rude. The community emphasizes that being direct does not mean you have the right to say anything without thinking about the feelings of others. How to apologize effectively. Many people advise OP to X after receiving a flood of comments from the Reddit community ranging from supportive to harshly critical. OP had time to seriously reflect on her actions and words. She has provided some important updates on what happened afterward and her current state of mind. Sincere apology. OP decided to follow the advice of many Redditors. She proactively approached Sarah when Sarah had calmed down and offered a sincere apology, focusing on how she made Sarah feel, rather than trying to justify her intentions. OP acknowledged that her words were thoughtless and hurtful. Sarah's response: Sarah, while still a little hurt, accepted OP's apology. She explained that her pregnancy had made her very sensitive about her body and self-conscious, and OP's words had tapped into that fear. Sarah also admitted that she had overreacted, but that her emotions were too strong to handle. Healing the relationship. The relationship between OP and Sarah has gradually healed after the apology. It became a lesson for both of them in understanding and communication. Although it took time, they were able to return to the close sisterly relationship they had before. Family reaction. OP's in-laws also saw the sincerity in her apology and let it go. They also reminded OP of the importance of thinking before speaking, especially when pregnant. OP now feels relieved and grateful that the Reddit community helped her see the issue from multiple perspectives. She realized that no matter how good the intention, the impact of the words is what matters most. OP learned a valuable lesson in tact, empathy, and effective communication, especially in family relationships. She's still outspoken, but she thinks a lot more carefully now before speaking, especially on sensitive topics. She doesn't regret posting on Reddit, as it has helped her grow a lot. OP's story is a classic example of the challenges of communication, especially when frankness meets sensitivity. It highlights core issues about the impact of words, the role of empathy, and how we handle misunderstandings in family relationships. Conflicting emotions in the story OP's. Initially, innocence, lightheartedness, and a desire to appear cheerful. Then confusion, shock, and hurt when realizing the impact of her words and being criticized by her family. Finally, remorse, understanding, and relief when apologizing and being forgiven. Sarah's Sil. Initially happy and proud about being pregnant, then hurt, sadness, and anger when receiving the comment. These emotions may be amplified by pregnancy hormones and underlying concerns about body image. Families blame, disappointment, and defending Sarah. This reflects their concern for Sarah and possibly their expectations of how the family should communicate. The Reddit community, in this case, acted as a cross-examiner and a source of candid feedback. They helped OP see her actions from different perspectives, especially from the perspective of a pregnant woman. Receiving both support and criticism helped OP gain a more comprehensive perspective and learn a valuable lesson. This proves that sometimes feedback from a large, diverse community can be a powerful tool for personal growth. Character analysis OP, narrator, represents someone who is straightforward, well-intentioned, but sometimes tactless in her delivery. She is someone who is able to learn and accept mistakes, which is important in mending relationships. Sarah Sill represents people who are going through a sensitive period in their lives, vulnerable to seemingly harmless words. Her reaction, while perhaps too strong, also represents the vulnerability of pregnant women and the social pressures of appearance. Family represents people who care but may react hastily. However, their acceptance of an apology and allowing the relationship to be mended shows maturity and family affection that still exists. Lessons learned. Good intentions do not equal good impact. Even if you have good intentions, how you say it matters. How your words impact the listener. Learn to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Tact is key, especially with sensitive topics like appearance, weight, or health conditions like pregnancy. Tact is paramount. Avoid commenting on someone's body unless they ask for it, or it's a sincere and appropriate compliment. Learn how to apologize properly. A sincere apology is not, "I'm sorry if you feel offended," but "I'm sorry I made you feel their feelings." Focus on the hurt person's feelings, not your intentions. Sensitivity during pregnancy. This is a time when a woman's body and hormones are going through a lot. She can be very vulnerable, and seemingly harmless words can have a profound impact. EQ is more important than IQ. The ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of others is extremely important in relationship system. This story is a classic lesson in the importance of emotional intelligence, EQ, open communication, and healing. After a mistake, proactively apologizing and being willing to listen can help heal the cracks in a relationship. OP's story is a clear example that despite our best intentions, words have the power to build or tear us apart. It is an important reminder to be tactful, empathetic, and thoughtful before you speak, especially for those who are going through a sensitive time in their lives. We hope this story will be a valuable lesson for all of you on how to communicate effectively and how to build healthy, understanding relationships. What do you think of this story? Have you ever accidentally said something that hurt someone? Or are you someone who has been hurt by careless words? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for following Real Reddit Moments. See you in the next story.